Hello and welcome. My name's John, and I'm excited to share with you my experiences and tips on how to make your resume stand out. In this short course, we'll discuss why your resume is so important, 10 tips that will make your resume stand out, and the basic requirements for writing a cover letter. So if you're a college student or a professional considering a career change, then you'll want to follow along and learn what you can do differently to gain a competitive edge. Let's get started. For most people, a resume is a job applications document, and that's true in many ways, but a resume is really a marketing document. When you put together a resume, what you're really doing is marketing yourself to potential employers. You're telling them that this is who I am and this is why you should hire me. The person that can market himself or herself effectively will be much more likely to get an interview over the person that cannot. So why is your resume so important? Well, without knowing who you are and what you look like, your resume is the only indicator of your qualifications. Also, employers get a lot of resumes, sometimes hundreds of resumes, for each position they post. And this being the case, they typically don't spend a lot of time going over each resume. The average recruiter spends about 10 seconds on a resume before deciding whether they want to commit more time or remove you from consideration for that particular position. Remember, they're judging you solely on the information that you have provided to them. So then your ultimate goal with your resume is to create value. Companies want people that can contribute in positive ways, and that generally means people that can add value to their organizations. Your resume should also give you confidence. A well-written resume is something you can stand behind and speak intelligently about when answering questions during interviews. So really, your resume is the single most important document in your job search campaign. Now, let's take a look at the 10 tips that will make your resume stand out. Attention span. Recruiters usually skip over resumes that are poorly written or that simply don't fit the job description. So to grab their attention right away, you want to place anything that's marketable about yourself at the top 1/3 of your resume. Emphasize strengths and achievements. If education is your strength, then place that towards the top. If experience is your strongest asset, then you want to show that up front. Appropriate length. Traditional resumes are 1 page long. However, resume writing and the concept of resume have changed over time. Increasingly, you'll see companies using social networking websites as a way to evaluate candidates. Websites like LinkedIn.com and Facebook.com are often used in place of or in addition to the resume. And we'll talk more about the pros and cons of using social media a bit later on. For now, you should try to keep your resume between 1 and 3 pages long. Try to aim for the right amount of information as well as be accurate and precise in what you write down. A resume is not a portfolio, so don't include samples of your work or any other non-relevant information unless they're requested by the employer. If you are a designer and your work is stored on a website like Behance.com, then certainly you want to include a link to your portfolio in your resume in the event that the recruiter wants to see your work. Be specific. There's very little value in a general statement when it comes to your resume, especially when an employer is trying to hire you for a specific job function. So the more detailed and precise you can be, the more employers are able to gauge your qualifications and the more likely they'll be interested in you. A generalized statement can be construed as either indecisive or lacking in effort. For example, instead of saying, "I contributed to the success of the project," which leads the reader to wonder what you actually contributed, you may want to say something like, "I extracted and analyzed real-time sales data for the development of monthly reports." This gives the reader more information on what you actually did. The point is, you can add more value to your resume by being more specific. Dates matter. Employers like to know what jobs you held previously and when you've held those jobs. Dates provide a timeline of your employment history. So be clear on the dates of your employment. Most employers want to see the month and the year from which you started a job and when you left that job. It's better to be upfront than to make the recruiter guess. And more often than not, you'll be asked about this during your interviews anyways. Also make sure you list your most recent job position first, followed by your least recent position. This is because the most recent job is more relevant to the employers. Highlight accomplishments. Employers want to know what your primary job functions are, but they also want to know what you achieved while you're with that company. Did you save the company money by improving workflow? Did you increase sales revenue, or did you develop a solution to an existing problem? Highlighting your achievements is one of the best ways to separate yourself from the other candidates. Quality writing. This is obvious if you're a professional, but a lot of people overlook the fact that what you write is just as important as how you write. Always use professional language. Proofread your resume as many times as it takes. Get a friend or someone you trust to check your grammar and to get their feedbacks. It's important to get more than one point of view just in case you miss something. Customize your resume. When it comes to resumes, one size does not fit all. Each job position obviously is slightly different from the next, and if you plan to apply across career levels, meaning a management level versus a director level versus a lead level position, then it's a good idea to have separate resumes, one for one type of position and the second for another type of position. Many times you can get away with using the same resume to apply to different positions, but I would be very careful about doing this as you run the risk of not adequately addressing the needs of each position and therefore not showing enough value. As a general rule, it's a good idea to take the time to understand each job requirement and whether it matches with your skill level, experiences, and desire. Keywords. Keywords help employers quickly identify your strengths and experiences. It can be difficult for recruiters to search through all the resumes and pick out what skills and experiences pertain to the position they have available. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to do their job. Resume databases, including job site databases, are searchable by keywords. So the more keywords you have on your resume, the easier it is for recruiters to find you. If you're a software engineer, your searchable keywords are likely going to be your skills, ASP.NET, Java, Oracle, etc. If you're a finance professional, then your keywords are something like cash flow, debt management, variance analysis, and so forth. Resume title. Your resume title lets a recruiter know what your basic job function is. For example, are you a business analyst, a project manager, or a software engineer? Having a clear and concise title eliminates the need for the recruiter to guess. A bad resume title is one that is general, like IT staff or young VIT. I see titles like this a lot among inexperienced candidates, and it adds no value and makes me think this candidate lacks experience. Another example of a bad title is Developer Manager Network Engineer. Well, obviously this person cannot perform all these job functions. I've worked in IT for over 12 years and I have yet to see anyone that can perform all these functions equally well. A job title like this makes me think this candidate is very indecisive. You want to choose a title that is specific to your skills and experiences. For example, a good title is something like Mobile Applications Developer - Android. Now with this job title, we know this person is a developer and they specialize in Android applications. Another good example is Senior Software Engineer in WordPress or PHP. So this person again knows exactly who they are and what they want to do. Keep formatting simple. Unless you're a graphic designer where you're evaluated on your creativity, it's a good idea to keep your resume format simple and easy to read. Again, your goal in the first 10 seconds is to show that you can add value to the employer, so keep it simple. Also, resumes get emailed and forwarded from one person to the next a lot of times during the process, and complex formatting doesn't transmit across different mediums very well. Avoid pretty or colorful looking fonts, busy looking line shapes, and the use of tables. I find that tables take a lot of time to get just right, and in most cases, you don't even need them. Use short sentences, paragraphs, and bullets to get your point across. A good format is one that can guide the reader through your resume and help them identify your key skills, experiences, and achievements as easily as possible. So try to keep the reader in mind when you're writing your resume. Lastly, there are no rules to how you write a resume other than to make it exciting and engaging. If you can do this, then you have achieved your goal with your resume, and you should have a very good chance of getting an interview.